All set? All right. Well, it is great to see everybody here in the chambers this evening and all my colleagues returning from our 5 o'clock meeting now for our 7 o'clock meeting. So let's get this business meeting of the Kalamazoo City Commission going. So I'm officially calling to order this meeting of the Kalamazoo City Commission for Monday, February 17th, 2025. And the first order of business is roll call.
Present.
Commissioner Decker.
Present.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Present.
Commissioner Pradel.
Present.
Commissioner Wilson.
Present.
Vice Mayor Hess.
Present.
Mayor Anderson.
Here. Thank you, Clerk Borling. For our opening ceremony this evening, we are blessed to have Chaplain Michael Kemple here from Missional Chaplains. And he's coming forward now. And here is what our normal process is that we will ask for everyone to rise for the invocation and then remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome, Chaplain.
Thank you, Mayor Anderson. Thank you, City Commissioners. Thank you, City Attorney, City Manager, and City Clerk. I'd like to do this invocation in memory of a very dear friend of many of ours, Chaplain Marcus Mays. Been missing that man very, very much. And so in honor of Marcus and to be with his widow, Mrs. Mays, I just thank you, Commission, for inviting us in. Lord God, this is an important meeting that we have in the middle of this city. I thank you for the folks here who come and give of their time. I thank you, Lord God, that we live in a diverse and unique place that we call home, that is the city of Kalamazoo. Lord, I pray that you would give each and every member here tonight wisdom to speak truth, to do so and lead in a way that is worthy of you. I thank you that you've incredibly blessed this community. And yet at the same time, I know there are folks that are still hurting and struggling, and there's suffering and there's sorrow. And for those who may be cold, Lord, I pray that you would bring them into a safe and warm place tonight. Lord, thank you for every member of this commission that are going to listen to folks who have come to share their hearts. I pray, Lord God, that you would bless and move in this place, and we give you all the glory, Lord. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you again, Chaplain Kemple. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you recognizing Marcus. He was here really not too long before his unfortunate passing to bless us with some words here in the commission. So we definitely remember that. We, from time to time, have proclamations on our agenda, and we do have one this evening. It's a special proclamation for a housing and support service provider here that's been in Kalamazoo for a long, long time. And Vice Mayor Hess is going to read the proclamation. If you're here from Friendship Village to accept that, please come forward at this time and I'll bring the proclamation down. Vice Mayor Hess.
Thank you, Mayor. And this is a recognition of Friendship Village's 50th anniversary. With a dream of finding a retirement community close home for his parents, John Markilly and his wife, Aileen, embarked on a journey to bring a life care community to Kalamazoo, Michigan. And in February 1975, construction of Friendship Village was completed and opened to its first residents who actively contribute their time, their talent, and their treasure to the village and to the greater Kalamazoo community. In the 1980s, a vision of lush woods with walking paths gave birth to the Village Woods on the south end of the property, with indigenous plants, trees, birds, and other wildlife, which is a defining feature of Friendship Village today. The 1990s brought several exciting changes. The main dining room was updated, Commons dining room was added, an Old Kent Bank branch opened in the southwest corner of the community. Expansion to the south side of the campus featured state-of-the-art Kiva Auditorium, which officially opened in June 1993. Later that decade, a media center, cafe, salon, and store opened. But most exciting was the addition of the Woodside Assisted Living and Special Care in June of 1998. Offering residents a more level offering residents more level of care choices. The Board of Directors also approved the purchase of 20 additional acres, increasing the size of the Friendship Village campus to just over 75 acres. In 2007, a new type of home was created for people desiring a bit more privacy. The Garden Home neighborhood was launched with 16 new homes. A master plan renovation and expansion began in 2015, including completion of Ring Road to encircle the entire campus, conversion of 20 apartments from independent to assisted living, and a new 16-bed rehabilitation center. In 2019, the resident craft room and wood shop were expanded, and an aquatic center was added, featuring a saltwater pool with assistance lift and sauna, fitness classes, then expanded to the pool. In the spring of 2021, the Village Clubhouse was opened, and the Garden Home neighborhood was completed, now totaling 50 homes. In 2024, the Kiva Auditorium received a theater-quality technology upgrade. Over the years, Friendship Village has enjoyed partnerships with many local organizations, including Milestone Senior Services, MRC Industries, local schools, churches, and camps. Especially productive has been a collaboration between Friendship Village and Western Michigan University. Residents have volunteered as subjects for first-year physician assistant students, and resident-student teams work together on resilience projects. Since its inception on February 28, 1975, the Friendship Village Kalamazoo has distinguished itself as consistently being on the cutting edge of senior living industry today and is dedicated to continuing this commitment well into the future. On behalf of the 55th City Commission of the City of Kalamazoo, we congratulate and celebrate 50 years of Friendship Village. Signed, Mayor David F. Anderson, Vice Mayor Jean Hess, Commissioners Cooney, Decker, Hoffman, Pradel, and Wilson. Congratulations on 50 years.
My name is Tim Kane. I'm the Executive Director, Friendship Village. Thank you for this proclamation. It's a very special occasion, a very special time in our history, 50 years this month. We are serving over 350 seniors with care, with services, with support, and it's a real community. So if you've not had a chance to visit, please do sometime. It's a wonderful community. I'm introduced to two individuals here that really are what makes Friendship Village what it has been for 50 years. And going forward, we have an expansion and renovation plan for the next 50 years plus. So I have Scott Schrum here. He's our board president. And the board has done a tremendous job over the years of just keeping Friendship Village moving forward and being the most attractive option for seniors. And then as far as the actual day-to-day, I'm happy to have Roy here. Roy has been with Friendship Village for a little over 13 years, working in our culinary department, and has done a tremendous job in addition to serving the residents, but creating relationships and a community with other staff members and the people who call Friendship Village home. So on behalf of all of us, thank you for this recognition, and have a good rest of your meeting.
Great recognition there. Now is the adoption of the formal agenda. Commissioners, are there any items on G, the consent agenda, you would like to have moved to H, the regular agenda?
Mr. Mayor, I had a member of the media reach out and ask if we could remove G1 to the regular agenda.
All right, G1, move to the regular agenda.
Thank you,
Commissioner
Mayor.
Hoffman, yes.
G5, please.
G5.
5.
Any other changes, Commissioners? All right, moving G1 and G5 from the consent to the regular agenda. Next, communications. Manager Itzma.
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you, Manager Ritzma. Now is the time for public comments. So as a reminder here, you have 4 minutes for a public comment. Please come to the podium, state your name and whether you live in the city. And I see there's a lot of people that want to comment, so I'm just going to remind people, this is kind of a free speech, fair speech zone, so I'm going to ask not for booing or clapping, just to keep it, give people the opportunity to make their comments and move on. So if you want to, you can also write your name, so it will be recognized over here on paper that's on just to the side of where the clerk is. So here we go. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Ryan Smith, resident of the Edison neighborhood, and I'm also co-chair of Southwest Michigan DSA. And I just want to I'm just here to call some urgency to our unhoused population. And I just think what is needed is these current short-term housing programs, these hotel programs. I think we need to do more of them, and I think we need to have more funding towards it. Keeping more people out of the cold is necessary. I also think we have to remind it that it is a hotel and not a shelter. So we do need to have more funding towards transitional housing like ISK, who focus on low barrier housing. You know, a lot of people are able to build themselves up once you give them some dignity and respect. When I was at the hotel yesterday, you know, it is amazing what you can get done. And when people are treated humanely and people have a place over their head, a place where they can clean up, you know, it really changes a lot of people's outlooks and changes them for the better. And, you know, expanding in ISK, you know, would get these people from there to transitional housing, which is desperately needed so we can get more and more people off the streets. I'm just asking for expansion of funding on those short-term programs. And I think we need to, you know, be looking for pathways for a 24/7 no barrier shelter. But it is a long-term solution, and that is something that we have to go to the township as well with the millage funds. And, you know, we have to work together in all this. And also, we want to impact our public health. We have a public bathroom petition that we got pushed through to add 2 extra bathrooms here in Kalamazoo, and it still hasn't been any real updates on it. And, you know, it would not only affect our unhoused community, but it affects all gig workers, people that are just outside working within the city. I just think it's another thing of decency, dignity, and respect that we have to move forward with and, you know, treat people better within the city. And the final thing is not really on the city commission, but like calling out our other community members, you know, whether you're part of a church or a nonprofit that feels like they could do more, have the resources, have the space for more warming centers. You know, it takes the entire community to come together to help solve these issues, you know, and I think it's our only pathway forward. I think that if you're part of a church and, you know, you have to get a hold of your congregation, talk to your leadership if you feel like that there's some things that you want to do to help out the situation. Warming centers are needed. We need people to be warm at night, and having more people in these hotels would keep people away from the mission as well, and keeps, you know, their workload a lot lesser throughout the months until summertime hits. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Ray Sweeney. I'm a resident of the city of Kalamazoo. I'd like to say me too. A lot of what I wanted to bring to your attention has already been brought to you. But I did want to pay attention to some things that just to acknowledge what you are already doing. There's this expression, preaching to the choir, but in this case, it's the choir that's acknowledging our leadership. Commissioner Hoffman, getting extra money for homeless people, it was an incredibly good thing to do. So thank you.
So I'd like to just interrupt and say this isn't a place for clapping or booing. We want to be able to, people say whatever they want to say. The whole commission passed that, Ray. I appreciate you saying that, but the whole commission voted for that. Thank you.
And also I wanted to shout out to Commissioner Cooney, who I think is the only one in this body that is older than I am. And so I remember in one of your campaigns you were talking about your swimming, and you're still doing it, and I hope you still do. All of you, please, you're the leadership of this community, and you've got some very good things in the air. It is a big thing. You've got the public hearings coming up next week on the 3rd, and there are a lot of things that will be addressed in that, and I just say thanks so much. We're now in a week of the Trump administration, and there's a lot of chaos, and frankly, I get pretty emotional about it, and it's hard to figure out just exactly what will happen. In 2016, I was having dinner with my wife after being at the call center for the Democratic Party, and there I worried that I wouldn't live until I knew that the country was safe from President Trump. But here we go. I got an email from a former student. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Ethiopia, and we helped him in high school, got him to the point of graduation, and then he did some good things. He's now a professor at Jima University in the southern part of the country, and he has been given an honorary degree by the Dalhousie University in Nova Scotia, developing an improvement in brood that has impacted all of East Africa. And he writes about USAID. And he said, because there's some areas in northern part of Ethiopia that are war-torn, and people depend on it. People will be dying as a result of some of the chaos we're having in this country. And I'm sorry for that. So, we did sing the, excuse me, one of the things I've got is some brain issues, but we shall overcome at church on Sunday. And we were reminded of how that came. Highlander folk school was training people to go to bend the rules or break the rules that where there was really very easily identifiable institutional racism, and people were preparing to take their knocks and go to jail. So these are thoughts I have. You know that protesting, if we're doing it, do it with respect and stay peaceful, but insist on change. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tina, and I live in Kalamazoo. I am from Kalamazoo. I work 2 jobs, so sometimes it's hard to get down here. Parking downtown isn't easy either, and the weather doesn't help either. You need to bring back public call-ins. If you really care about what the residents have to say, it's a better way to communicate than your survey, because your survey has certain answers for you to choose from. You can't put your own in. Call-ins in person will give your residents a chance to speak. I live in Southtown neighborhood. I live in the south side of town. I live in the flooding area where we only got 1.38 inches of rain just the other week, and your storm drain started to flood out the streets. So worry about springtime when rain hits, when it has been shown over and over again that your storm drains are not working properly. The Band-Aid has fell off. So when we flood, it affects everyone in Kalamazoo who uses Kalamazoo's water. For the failing storm drain issues flood out the streets and then backs up the sewers into the groundwater. For our sub pumps pump the groundwater out of our homes and from underneath our basements. And that is how we know There is sewage backup in the groundwater. Fix your infrastructure, fix the flooding, not Band-Aid it, fix it. Stop trying to destroy all our natural green spaces, for we only have one left. On Lake to Stockbridge to John, it's our wildlife's last home. It's a swampy area, and if you take this away, it'll make flooding worse. So please, take our last natural green space off the city's destruction radar, for we in a climate change, and we already have to deal with enough. I've been coming here for 7 years for the same problem in our neighborhood, and I'm still waiting. We would like to be able to be like the rest of the neighborhoods in Kalamazoo, be able to enjoy the rain, not get worried about us, our homes. Can we get home? Will our furnaces be ruined again? Will we be able to get out? I replaced 4 furnaces in the last 9 years, and no one pays for that but me. It's going to be, if we're going to be able to get out, if we're going to be stuck for days. Believe me, it's no fun. Lots of added stress, so please fix the problem. It's not our fault, but we are the ones who suffer for it. We need to stop destroying natural spaces. We can do better than this, Kalamazoo. You are a part of the city, but yet you do nothing. You are all about the money. You have no money to fix things, but you sure have money to build. Rent is so high in Kalamazoo, people can't afford to live. I work 2 jobs, and I can't afford an apartment. A lot of you who work here are landlords, so you are part of the problem in Kalamazoo. Rent is too high, crime is out of control, and wait till summer comes. It'll only get worse. No one is safe. Kalamazoo used to be a very safe place. Not no more. People have already been found froze to death in cars because they're trying to keep warm. Come on, Kalamazoo, we can do better than this. It's time to do better. It's time to help with your heart and not make more money. You only care about money. It's time to care and listen to the people that are here for once. It's time to really do something. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, Caleb Leonard, Kalamazoo residents. So we have unprecedented events in our federal system right now. That's pretty obvious in the news every day. So I am asking and would expect from the council and all of the professionals working for it that you start expediting your assessment of how it will impact Kalamazoo. We have federal funds that come directly to the city. We have federal funds that go to the state and then to the city, sometimes the county. Sometimes those federal funds are going through NGOs. And so what I'm asking is that you break down, where do we stand if everything still gets paid on time? What happens if everything gets shut off? And in the middle, how do we adapt to changes that could happen on a whim? What happens if our CDBG grants come in progress payments from the federal government? We've torn up West Edge Road, and now we don't have the money to rebuild it. These are legitimate situations we're very likely to run into. So not only do we expect that you actively assess this situation, but you need to communicate what possibilities there are for us as residents of Kalamazoo. We need active and pull of communication at a level that we have not done before. So we need everybody to step up. You, us, we have a social contract. We all identify what needs to happen, and then we distribute the roles, responsibilities, and resources to make that happen. We have to step up, even with shoveling snow. You guys can find us, and we can bicker back and forth about where is the property line, where is the right-of-way, but the bottom line is our children still need to walk to school. We need to walk. Everybody, I invite everybody, walk a mile on these winter days in their shoes. Those shoes are ratty, they're barely insulated, and they're falling apart more every day. Cold feet is not a good way to start the day. We need you to be communicating some of this urgency and these ideas across all of the organizations, state, county, local libraries, our public school system. All of our funds are at risk, and we all need to be working together as leaders and as citizens to make sure we have a plan. Where are we going to prioritize? I recommend safety, children, and education. Safety first, children always, and never stop learning. Because new knowledge is always going to exist. We can't rest in what we already know. And that comes straight to the university. We are a city of education, and we have so many jobs wrapped up in that. How many of those are going to get cut off? We already have programs getting cut off. We're losing the Department of Education. Our federal grants and Pell grants and loans are going to disappear. I expect we'll probably lose 30% of the student population if we do that. And Lord help us, because the community colleges are almost entirely funded that way. So I'm asking you to double check how much effort you're putting in. Make sure at $12.48 an hour that you are earning your roughly $1,200 a month, somewhere along those lines. But anyway, I don't know what exactly the math is, but push forward, push hard, be leaders, go beyond the desk, get in the community, talk to the community organizations, get everybody on board. Because whether we expected to elect you as managers or not, we need you to be leaders. Very much leaders. Okay? This cannot wait. This is happening at a pace, 4 weeks, and they've already cut down probably 30% of the government. They have access to things that we can't control. Enumeratus illitari. Numeracy and illiteracy must be destroyed.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi there. I'm Amanda Charbonneau, and I live about 400 feet behind you in an apartment above the library. And I live there with my husband and 2 little dogs. Every day, we get up and we walk out of our building into a lovely little town. I love that the sidewalks are heated because it keeps my dog's feet warm in the winter. And I love that I can do all of my shopping with a wagon and a short walk. And I love stopping in for coffee and matcha and just living in a vibrant little downtown. And I don't know much about any of you because I've only lived here for about 6 months, but I assume that since you're on the city council that you also live right around here and have also enjoyed all of these things. But if you'll indulge me for a moment, I brought each of you a small gift. It's going to be passed around. And what I want you to imagine is that as you pick up this gift, it's a plain pair of warm, new socks. I would like you to imagine that this is the best thing you've gotten today, this week, maybe this month. Imagine that your first response to getting this is to hug me or to cry. Because every morning when we leave our warm little apartment and step out onto the mall, we enter this wonderful city and a world of abject poverty. Every morning we see tens of people huddled at the library waiting for the only warm place downtown that will let you sit there all day with no expectation of money. We walk past the same older man checking every trash can for food and recyclables. And as we walked through Arcadia Festival Place, we overheard a man and a woman explaining to their 2 little kids that yes, you do get to play outside again all day today. Isn't camping fun? And I think that for many of us, it's easy to walk past and maybe think, oh, how sad, before rounding the block and going back home. Or maybe we quietly believe that they deserve it somehow. Or maybe we all know that we're only 1 or 2 medical disasters from being that poor too. And that if we look too closely or think too hard about it, we might get to fall in. It's easier and better for our own sense of well-being to just try to ignore them. Don't think of them as people like me, because I don't want to think of them as a person like me. I already told you that I live in a lovely downtown apartment, and I have a great job, and I can pay all of our bills and more. I buy chocolates and an enormous amount of popcorn, and I have a climbing membership. I take advantage of this city all the time. But I only made it here because when I was homeless 20 years ago, people gave things to me. People saw me as a person like them and helped me get back up on my feet. So every morning when we walk out into the mall, we don't just pass the dozens of homeless people. We say hello, and some days we bring socks, and some days we give out snack bars, and almost every day we give out cash. So I brought you socks not because I think you need them, but because I know there are dozens of people out there right now in the park across the street and in the nooks of doorways and under a tarp on the mall who do need them. And I want you to think of this as your new Helping the Homeless starter kit. I challenge each of you personally to go walk downtown in Kalamazoo and meet the citizens who live there on those streets, the people who need your help, and pass on a pair of socks. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jeremy Herman. I live in the township. I'm the other co-chair of Southwest Michigan DSA. David, towards the end of the last commission meeting, you addressed the public commenters like myself who work with the homeless. We should acknowledge that this is not just a city problem, but it is also a county and a township problem. Also mentioning that if the city were to collect all the taxes within the surrounding areas, it might provide more money to programs within the city. You mentioned that Kalamazoo actually has more resources and pilot programs than all these other areas. You said, I know this may be the kind of thing that people don't like to hear, but the facts are the facts. And I will agree with you. This is a county problem, this is a township problem, and it is still a city problem. And you're right. Kalamazoo has a lot of resources, more than most. The facts are the facts. And the fact is, Tammy Christie died in this city. She died alone, houseless, in the back of someone's car, in a city with plenty of resources. But tonight, I won't just say you failed her, we failed her. From the churches that don't open their doors to those out in the cold and the human service organizations that are systemically failing our city. Leadership was quick to point out that they are doing the best they can and that they care. For the record, we all care. I do attend my township meetings and expect more from them as well. But if my leaders continuously point the fingers elsewhere and I express urgency, who else do I turn to? If there's influence in this city to listen to the millionaires and billionaires who want to build stadiums and luxury loft apartments downtown, there is enough influence in this room tonight for you to start having the conversations with the county about more affordable housing initiatives. There's more initiatives for low barrier shelters who people have offered to take you down and see how they work. Maybe you will finally add more 24/7 public restrooms that the community petitioned for that you have still yet to put up. In a city that has so many resources, the fact is we can always do better. Some of us are just willing to acknowledge it more. Rest in peace to Tammy Christie. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, please.
Angela Manning again for the locally unhoused. Of course, we've seen a lot of deaths this year for freezing, cold atmospheres, temperatures, everything that we shouldn't be seeing. A lot of things have been going down. Judy Lowry, Heads for Beds, she could have put Tammy inside of a place to stay when she was cold. She takes a personal Rolodex and she flips through it and she gives and picks and chooses who she's going to put in to the hotels. I've had more than multiple people come to me for resources, and for some reason they can never get a hold of her. She doesn't advertise, doesn't do any type of advertisement on any warming centers, no type of anything other than the fact that she sends out a mass email to the people that are only in her text message box, her inbox, anything like that. Any other way, we would not even have any idea that they were doing Heads for Beds. Now I've seen her, I've seen people with shirts on it that have, Heads for Beds. This is our money that we're spending out here that could be housing people that could be freezing to death at night that we don't even pay attention to. Now, I recently went to the Ministries of Community for some tampons. No tampons. No tampons for nothing. Barely get any thermals, no gloves, no anything like that. All of our resources are being utilized in other things. And I'd hate to see anybody that has stepped into an advocacy role that isn't doing what they're supposed to do appropriately. I myself tried today to get a hold of Judy Lowry myself. She did not return my calls. A couple people have approached her and, talked to her about her heads for beds, and it's only to the people that she would like to house will get housed. So if you don't know anything about it, then how are you going to stay warm? So, maybe if she needs a little help as far as her advertisement goes for her LLC or whatever she's doing with her nonprofit, but I'll tell you this much. I would like an itemized list of every single penny that she spends. I want to see where my money's going. And I'm sure that other taxpayers would like to see where their money's going too, as far as posting a post that says, I need 38 rolls of paper towel, 700 juice boxes, things like that she's posting on Facebook, on her own website. Why aren't those things that aren't utilized being counted, being tracked down so that she can use them again on the next round? Now, 29 people she housed last time. This time, she's already on board. She doesn't tell anybody unless they really, really need it. And car seats with straps, we're homeless. We don't need no car seats. It says it's going to help over 700 people. Everybody should pay attention to social networking, especially the one that she's on, because I do not appreciate the way that she is going about advocating for our homeless people. Our unhoused are the most important people out here right now, because there's more of us than there are of you, and I'm sure of it. And until we can do something to change it all together, there's nothing we can do by ourselves, obviously. So we need all you guys' help. Because I'm freezing outside, and there's two babies too many people are dying out there because of the things getting turned away at the mission. Like I said, a code of ethics when you come into the Ministries of Community, a curriculum for learning for social inadequacy. Anything that's going to introduce them back into society so they can be productive, so we can, keep it moving with the rest of it. What we're doing right now is not working at all. We're going to have to put our heads together, make a change, but I would like a list of everything that anybody spends on the homeless, because for me, it seems a little funny what she's been doing. As far as numbers go, I can't even, I tried to count 100 times. I can't count, and I think it's unfair for what she's doing. I believe that she needs to be, I feel that she needs to step down and let somebody that's really going to provide and be there for the unhoused 24/7, no matter what. No matter what they need, families, children, wives, mothers, lives. This is all what we do, but we don't need to freeze to death. And in the summertime, we're needing those drinking fountains on every day. It's going to get hot this year.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Amy Boley. I'm a resident of the Millwood neighborhood, and I'm here tonight to advocate for our unhoused neighbors as well. In May of 2019, my husband lost his job, and along with that, we lost our apartment very quickly, and we found ourselves unhoused. Luckily, we have parents and friends who had the stability to give us a place to sleep and a place to use the restroom. Now, we have a lovely home, but I'm very keenly aware of how close we were to being on the streets. And we are two adult people, educated, who have had full-time jobs since the time we were in high school. And we came that close. The new federal administration is about to put a tax plan into place that will raise taxes for every single individual who makes less than $350,000 a year. Do you know, off the top of your head, what the average income is in Kalamazoo for an individual? It's less than $35,000. That's a tenth of that tax threshold, you guys. So if you think we have an unhoused problem now, give it a year. Because I can tell you right now, those of us who make less than $350,000 a year, we are facing stagnant wages. We're facing raising water bills, even though we can't drink our water half the time. Everything's going up except for wages, and it's going to be including taxes. And if you thought people were financially unstable now, wait. Kalamazoo's already behind the ball, trying to help our neighbors, our brothers and sisters who are unhoused. But I hate to break it to you, gameplay, the pace of it's about to increase rapidly. And we're already behind the ball. We need to think creatively. We need to collaborate. And we need to put our egos aside and come together as a community, because we are only as strong and as successful as a community as those of us who struggle the most. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is David Burkham. I'm a Vine resident of Kalamazoo. I'm also here tonight to speak to the issue of the unhoused and say that Tammy Christie's death last month is no aberration. This is part of a continuing and an accelerating trend. I can only speak anecdotally. I've lived here for over a decade. The numbers only increase. The pain only increases. This is only getting worse as time goes on. At this time, this critical time of freezing temperatures, access to warming, access to no barrier shelters, access to anything is critical. We have to move on this. In the past, in my life here, I've seen the unhoused band together, demand things, make this inconvenient, live in Bronson Park. They were trespassed, their things were thrown away. I was there, I saw this. If you won't listen to them in that way, how else can we expect but to find people frozen in cars? This is only going to get worse. I implore you to act with all speed to increase access, no barriers. People need to be warm. I walked here tonight, not far, a few blocks. It's cold. And I can't imagine what I would do, what lengths I would go to survive in these temperatures. And we've seen it. And it's not good. So I implore you, please, do something. Increase access. This is needed absolutely right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Quincy Ellis. I'm from North Carolina. I moved here, I say 10 years ago. I never been homeless, never knew nothing about being homeless until I met Judy. You know, she told me when I was homeless, she told me keep my head up and keep moving forward. I'm here to speak on her behalf. I don't know what y'all been hearing about her. She is A1 with me. And I'm quite sure she would 800. I'm A1 with everybody else that really know her. She sent me out yesterday 2 times to go find whoever I could find to get them to come to the hotel. We picked up 2 more tonight on our way here. So I appreciate all the work y'all doing for her, to support her, whatever. Thank you. And she wants y'all to know, if you want to, she have supper every night at 5:30. You're welcome to come out. Thank y'all.
Thank you very much. Next, please.
Yeah, I'm Todd Price. I'm a resident of Kalamazoo. I'm kind of unfortunately, I'm unfortunate of Kalamazoo. I'm actually from Van Buren County, Lawton and Decatur. When I moved to Kalamazoo, I came from Ann Arbor back to Decatur, bought a $250,000 home, stayed there 15 years, and owed $8,000 left on my land contract. And the lawyer in town bought my land contract out from underneath me, and that's why I'm here in Kalamazoo. Okay? So I came to Kalamazoo, and I lived out South Sprinkle Road, 10 miles out on South Sprinkle Road in an apartment complex, and the flood of 2018 made me homeless. Okay? because I lived at the lower floor of the apartment complex, and my fiance I had at the time came down with MS in 2016, and 2018 she was full blown paralyzed from the waist down. Okay, and so it doesn't help me. You know, I can't find any place Kalamazoo will rent me to because I've got conflicts with the law, whatever not, but it's not bad. But it should still hold me from keep getting an apartment or a house. Okay, I've got I have an income, so I'm not worried about it. I will survive. I am a survivor. You all most of you senior citizens like myself, okay? I have two daughters and 8 grandkids. So, you know, both my daughters are school teachers, and they know what I'm going through. But the thing is housing. Come on now. There's housing out there. I mean, I'll go on, go to the library and check it out, and there's over $2 billion in grants for homeless housing. What's going on with America? That's what I'd like to know. What's going on with Kalamazoo? Because there's all kinds of places that are empty, but nobody living there. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
My name is Crystal Coy. I am part of the unhoused community here in Kalamazoo, and also security for Kalamazoo Together for the Unhoused. Judy would like me to thank you for your help, and as well as the people she's helping right now, keeping them warm. She's one woman, you know, and she's given me purpose with this hotel project. Some days I probably wouldn't get out of bed or bedroll, whatever, if it weren't for her and giving me this opportunity to help them. One of the youngest unhoused in this hotel project is 11 months old. It's a family of 3, and they have nowhere to go. And they came to us, and they're so appreciative of the help. Little boy, I call him my trainee, security and trainee. They all want to thank you for the help they are being given right now. The warmth, the comfortable bed, safe place to sleep, the food that they're eating every night. It makes a difference. I'd also like to say I knew Tammy Christie very well. She was a friend of mine, and she was at the Christmas Heads in Beds, and it's sad to hear that she froze to death, that she didn't get the help in time. But thank you again.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hello, my name is Patrick White, but everybody call me OG. I appreciate the help y'all have started. I know it's hard for me to really talk, but I'm trying to get it over. I appreciate the starting, but I've been here over 20 years, so I've been doing it. I am not have to be homeless if I choose to be. But we need more to be together and stand together. And if we don't, we're going to have more, like they say, more out there. And we ain't trying to lose more than it is already. But Ms. Judy has been doing her work. She's been doing what she couldn't do it by herself. You know, I ain't gonna never take nothing from her. But anything else, I just need help to make this stronger and get us off the, mostly off the streets and wanting to get off the streets. That's all I can say at the moment. I'm just tired.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Ewan. I'm here tonight because we can't afford to stay silent while our neighbours die in the cold. As freezing temperatures persist, our houseless community members remain at extreme risk. The city, the state, and the country at large have the resources to act but continue to do so little, and this is unacceptable. We demand action, real urgent action, from the city, the county, and community organisations. I think somebody's already said it before, but the reality is that we need to contend with the reality that houselessness is only going to get worse over the next coming months and years, with the federal cuts that harm some of the most vulnerable in our community, from new mothers to veterans. Local governments like yourself, really, it's time to step up. It's time to step up because we can only look after ourselves at this point. We can't really rely on those further up the chain in our governments. And we really need to acknowledge the fact, or you guys need to acknowledge the fact, that many of your constituents are just a couple of bad months away from facing some really, really difficult conditions in this city. And, you know, people like to think it can't happen to them, but it can really happen to anyone. And I think that's something that really needs to be acknowledged more often, that this isn't an issue that affects other people. This affects the majority of people in Kalamazoo, because it just takes a couple of bad months and we're all in that situation. We need to do, you know, simple things. Well, not simple things, but simple things that need political action to do. We need to invest in affordable and transitional housing. We need to expand low barrier shelter initiatives. We've got to get people into shelters. We need to get people into warming centres when it gets cold, because the cold doesn't wait. Neither should we. We've got to open up any building that works and get people in there. And we need to do more to support the volunteers who step up when a functional government has failed in that regard. And another thing I think that's really important for your guys is, you know, the Commission really needs to build trust with following through on these promises. Over a year ago, the city promised 2 public restrooms after a successful petition, and that hasn't been delivered. This is a small ask. This is something that is universal, benefits everyone in the city, and it hasn't been delivered. And for us, it makes it really difficult for us to believe you when you say we're working on solutions, give us time, we're working on solutions, please. It's difficult for us to believe you when the small things aren't getting done, these small infrastructure things aren't getting done. So please, and I know, Jim, you're retiring. Come on, this is a challenge to you. Before you leave this fine city, get those restrooms built. It'll be a fine legacy. We'll name them after you, these beautiful toilets. It'll be wonderful. It'll be fantastic. So please, I just urge you to really give this issue the urgency it deserves. It's really affecting a large percentage of the population. We really can do more. We really need to put people over profit, especially when our other government institutions are failing and being dismantled. It's really time for us to step up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wants to take advantage of public comment? Thank you.
Charles Hanna. Several days ago, I was asked to help a friend that had raised money to house a couple homeless. And naturally, these people don't have ID, so that's where I come in. One of those people is downstairs in a car right now, crying because she can be somewhat erratic, so a lot of times, you know, she's loud and boisterous, and it unnerves people, so a lot of times she's not allowed to be in spaces. Okay. She's literally lived outside for 10 years that I know of. Okay. Tremendous person. I really love her, really come to see how good she is inside, despite the shortcomings. But there's a real possibility that, because depending, maybe tomorrow she can get her services back. Who knows? But, you know, so I'm trying to ask you, what do you guys think I'm going to do? People need to understand. She can't be killed. She cannot be killed. This isn't right. You know, I've considered killing myself because, you know, I already got one foot in the grave, another foot on a banana peel. I've got a health feeling. I'm not happy. Most of my COVID wiped a lot of my family out. I don't have a lot of whole reasons to live anymore. Anyway, you know what I'm saying? I really don't. And you know, my anger and sadness has intensified. I'm really disappointed. And a real good friend was murdered 3 years ago. It's murder. You sent somebody out at 7 degrees? Oh boy, you're special place for you. But what people don't understand, you gotta make it to your car. People need Big Gretch. I don't think people understand what world we're living in. We've had our own governor's mansion surrounded. We've had the nation's capital stormed. Okay. People will start flipping out. Is that what we want? Are we going to drive people to that? There's no other way. There's no other way So right now, the other gentleman is at the Econo Lodge right now in a room with my name. She's downstairs. So, yeah, I'll probably try to get her back in the room, and if they won't kick her out, all this. I'm telling you, I'm getting. I really hope people start listening.
Thank you. Next, please.
Hi, my name is Shona Espinoza. Would you guys fail to realize when there's these projects going on where you guys are putting people in these hotel rooms? I just, out my own pocket, put up some people that were out on the street. One had frostbite on his hand that is healing. There needs to be services, wraparound services and 24/7 services to make sure that needs are being met. Mental health is extremely out there. And there needs to be services when these things are going on to make sure that they're not getting kicked out because they're being triggered, or it could be something small, or they've been through so much trauma, or they've been out on the street. When you put them taking them out of their environment into a room with other people that sometimes they're with or not, but they're around them because they know they have to be there to be warm or stay safe. It could be something as little as somebody saying something that triggers them, that makes them spiral, or whatever that they're doing, where people think that, oh, they gotta go, they gotta get kicked out. Or they're on this list that they can't come back because they did something that is only because it's mental health that they have not been treated and learned how to cope with. Their coping is drinking and smoking because that's how they know how to cope. And then when you try to give them services, a lot of times they don't follow through with the services because they have not been taught the basic skills that they need to be able to maintain their services. So they miss a date here, they miss this, they have to start the program over. Imagine having to start the same program over and over because it's not because you're doing it on purpose, it's your mental health, or it's your health, or something that's going on. There's a man that was outside panhandling, had been out there 24 hours. A gentleman in a wheelchair with a heart condition that has cancer. 24 hours, and now we don't even know where he's at. This is the stuff that we see and that's going on. There is so much more behind just people being out on the street. Nobody wants to live out on the street. This is a multi-tier layer of things that are going on. Mental health is serious. Can you imagine when they cut the funding for people that need mental health services, how much worse it will be? There needs to be able to access mental health and their needs need to be met. Because once they start going through these programs, and regardless of, some people are so far gone with their mental health, not because they want to be, but because they have not been treated or shown how to deal and cope in the right ways. So people don't want to deal with that, but they need to, because that's the only way they're going to get better. So this is why people get kicked out of the hotels or shelters or their services or their homes. It's because they're mentally not okay, or they're dealing with health issues or personal issues. Can you imagine having all of those issues going on at the same time, and being out on the street and being told, oh, just because you act that way, you have to stay out on the street, or you're kicked out, or you can't do this, or you can't get a meal? There's so many people out here, even people out here with children. So there needs to be something in place. This administration that is here now is cutting programs and so many different things. Please step up. Please come out and see what's really going on, because it's real out here. It's cold. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. Drew Duncan, resident of Kalamazoo City proper. I've been here a couple times, extending the invite to take many of you to the low barrier shelter. I don't think I need to beat the dead horse. We have a neighbor that froze to death in our city. We should really be ashamed of ourselves. And over the last few months, it has been more important to defend the work, to defend the votes, to finger wag at activists, than it has been to buckle down, lock in, be imaginative, and get to work. And so I rebuke the easy way out. The easy way out is kicking the can. The easy way out is blaming activists that you don't like when they come to the podium and hold you to account. That is the easy way out. The hard way, like we do on many of our other projects for the city, is to hold town halls. I would think that this now is an emergency that calls for the attention of our elected officials here in our city, not in our township, not in our county, in our city. I'll repeat, one of our neighbors froze to death in our city. So not only are we not taking care of housing, I'll give you that as a resident. Let's talk about mental health, right? We have WMU. Let's be imaginative. Let's look to our neighbors. Notre Dame has launched a program with their social work master's degree students and PhD students to create a mobile mental health crisis unit to intervene into the community. We can be imaginative. We can look to our neighbors for things other than streets and sidewalks. That's the due diligence that public servancy, not being a politician, but being a public servant, calls us to do. It calls us to be and do our due diligence. If we can look at that city and say we love their streets and their roundabouts and their decorative brick, then we should be looking at how they feed their homeless, how they house people, how they've created neighborhood overlays and zoning so that we can get creative about how we fill gaps in affordable housing in our city. Stick-built's getting really expensive. Some of you are developers. You know that. So container residential properties are becoming more and more popular. Again, be imaginative. I still believe this is a city that can keep its promise. But I'm starting to believe that this is a city that lacks empathy. When we have a community screaming, I heard the word begging, imploring, people whom we have elected to represent us, not any other interests, us, including the people who don't have a roof over their head. Tonight, respectfully, after the end of public comment, activists, the community, the unhoused, we don't want your sound bites. Save your finger wagging. We want to hear how you're going to get to work when you address this problem. We want to know how another one of our neighbors will not freeze to death in our city. I want everyone to be thinking about Tammy tonight when they go home.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Kyle Patnod. Good evening, City Council. I'm a resident of Kalamazoo. I have been my whole life. I just want to echo the things my fellow residents have been saying. It's very cold. One of our neighbors has died because of it. We need to increase investment in affordable transitional housing. We need to prevent homeless where it starts by keeping people in stable jobs, and so on and so forth. We need to invest in low barrier shelter initiatives like everybody's been saying. We need to follow through on our public health initiative that was a petition that was passed that the city council promised to put in some public restrooms that would benefit not only our unhoused neighbors, but like it's been mentioned, gig workers, just any resident who's walking around who needs to pee downtown and not do it on the sidewalk. If you're a member of a church or an organization, please open your doors to our neighbors who are cold and suffering. I had a period of homelessness myself, being a lifelong resident of Kalamazoo. I grew up in Portage. I went to Portage Public Schools. I was born here in Kalamazoo. Even coming from like a middle-class background, you can fall into gaps because of mental health, job insecurity, poor work opportunities, all that stuff. And you'll end up sleeping in the woods, Thankfully, like other speakers have mentioned, I do have a good safety net that allowed me to climb up out of that. But it's still a tenuous, arrangement. So I beg you, I implore you, please listen to all my comrades, the fellow residents of Kalamazoo, and all of our neighbors. Please try to help keep us all safe, especially in these cold winter months. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to take advantage of this public comment period this evening? All right, thank you so much. I want to say we appreciate anyone who took the time and made the effort to come down here and speak to us about these important issues this evening. Next is the consent agenda. Manager Ritzma.
The following items are presented for approval. First is approval of an annual renewal agreement with Rapid7 for vulnerability management and insight intrusion detection and response software services through the MyDeal Cooperative Purchasing Program in the amount of $129,846. Next is the approval of a professional service agreement with Veritas for Arcadia Creek Festival Place architectural services in the amount of $609,000. Next is the approval of a contract supplemental and change order with USP Technologies for 2025 Pri-Tech odor control services in the amount of $627,000. Next is the approval of a Youth Mobility Fund project services agreement with Kalamazoo Public Schools and the Central County Transit Authority to fund bus fare and administrative costs for students in Kalamazoo Public Schools, grades 9 through 12. Next is the acceptance of a Michigan Commission on Law Enforcement Standards Continuing Professional Education Funds grant to provide required law enforcement training in the amount of $343,500. And finally, approval of the appointment of Aaron Adams to the Kalamazoo Municipal Golf Association Board of Directors for a term expiring on January 1, 2028.
Thank you very much, Manager Ritzma. Commissioners, the requested action is a motion to approve items G2, G3, and G4 and G6, G7, and G8, and authorize the city manager to sign all related documents on behalf of the city. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Cooney. Support. Supported by Commissioner Hoffman. Clerk Borland, please call the roll.
Commissioner Decker.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hess.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. Items on the consent agenda are approved. Now we are on to our regular agenda. Item H1, Manager Ritzma.
Approval of a professional service agreement with Peerless Midwest for the installation of drinking water production wells at water pumping stations number 5 and number 14 in the amount of $1,292,750.
Thank you very much. Manager Ritzma, is there a staff report on this item?
Yeah, Director James Baker, our Public Services Director, will give a brief overview of this item.
Welcome, Director Baker.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, City Manager. We don't have any additional information outside of what's in the agenda item, other than just to summarize the work is, routine for this project. You've heard us talk a lot about Station 14, Station 5 consolidation project. This work is outside of the what is part of the project plan. So this work is coming to you separately. That deals with how wells are permitted. They've got 2 cycles of permitting they've got to go through. So this will be a part of that work. And then as that project starts to unfold over the next year or so, you'll have several more bids coming forward. So in total, this project is unfolding in front of you. This is one piece of that work. This is about 9 wells that will be all new to support the Station 5 and 14 consolidation. And I'm happy to answer any questions that commissioners may have on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Baker. Questions, commissioners? Appreciate all your efforts. Thank you so much. No questions from the commission. Is there anyone here in the chambers that would like to comment on this item, specifically item H1? Seeing no one, the recommended action, commissioners, is a motion to approve. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Pradel.
Support.
Supported by Vice Mayor Hess. Any discussion, commissioners? Seeing none, Clerk Borland, please call the roll.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hess.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney.
Yes.
Commissioner Decker.
Yes.
Thank you, commissioners. The motion passes. Next on the agenda is item H2, City Manager Ritzma.
Adoption of a resolution establishing a neighborhood enterprise zone between East Michigan Avenue, South Edward Street, East South Street, and Portage Street. And I would ask that our Assistant City Planner, Bobby Durkee, come forward and give a brief overview on this item.
Welcome, Assistant Planner Durkee.
Thank you, Mayor Anderson, City Manager Ritzma. The NEZ in front of you is the one at your last meeting you held a public hearing for. This one is the central block downtown, bounded as City Manager Ritzma alluded to, or a lot of people might be familiar with. That's where the old Peninsula Brewery is. This was the first NEZ sought since the policy adoption by the Commission. There is a building at 234 and 238 East Michigan Avenue. We have a place for people seeking the incentive to apply to see if they qualify. At this one, the developer sought to add 4 units, applied for the NEZ, and then working with staff, we looked at a geography for it. And due to some other tax zones and some other issues, we narrowed in on this one where it lines up with the city's policy. But the only thing that didn't line up on this one was you need 10 platted lots, and this one does. So this particular one could qualify for up to 15 years by the policy by not adding new parking and at least 20% In this case, one unit would be 80% or of AMI. In addition, the age of the buildings in this block are quite old. We believe that this would be a beneficial area as well because of the rehabilitation costs, tax, interest rates are high. And then this is also, there's a parking lot to the south of the Bates Alley where there's been some thoughts for putting housing or some attention for housing. And there's still a few vacant storefronts. And I understand where if people do seek to redo it or reutilize their existing space, the NEZ has some extra benefits for residential. And the incentive itself becomes a reduction in the ad valorem taxes, usually within a third and a half. So if there's any more details on the request, I'd be glad to answer them. Or
Questions, commissioners? Just as a reminder, we have had a long presentation about these topics as well, so it's not brand new to the commission at this time. So no questions from our commission at this time then? All right. Thank you, Assistant Planner Durkee. Appreciate it. Now is the opportunity for anybody in the chambers who would like to comment on this item in particular, item H2. Please come forward. Seeing no one, commissioners, the recommended action is a motion to adopt. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Commissioner Decker.
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Wilson. Any more discussion, commissioners? Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. I've already spoken with Mr. Durkee. I just want to say, if you guys have had a chance to look at the picture within the packet, it also encompasses, as you said, the Bates Alley. And, I just want to stress, I believe the Bates Alley is a great place where residents come in the city of Kalamazoo every Wednesday to listen to free live music. And it also helps, some of the downtown businesses that are right there. You've got Benny DeCardis, you've got, I think there's a Green Top, we've got a lot of places down there, and I just really hope that as they're incorporating this and wanting to do something with this area, they really think about how beneficial Bates Alley, I believe, is to the city of Kalamazoo.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker. Any other discussion, commissioners? Seeing none, Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Commissioner Pradle? Yes. Commissioner Wilson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hess?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney?
Yes.
Commissioner Decker?
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman?
Yes.
Thank you, commissioners. The motion passes. We now have two more items on the regular agenda. First one was consent agenda item G1, now regular agenda H3. Manager Ritzma.
Approval of a professional service agreement with Whiteman and Associates for construction engineering services for the Westnedge Vine to Michigan project in the amount of $115,500.
Thank you. Commissioner Pradle?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The question that asked to have this removed from the consent agenda was just to have a better understanding about how this segment and this project on Westnedge will be different than the segment that was reconstructed last year. And so, Director Baker, I was just wondering if you wouldn't mind sharing like some of the differences between this anticipated project and the previous project that was done last season, construction season.
Thank you for the question, Commissioner Pradle. Last year, we had a construction project on Westnedge from Vine to Whites Road. That project was very extensive, involved the replacement of water main. It was actually consolidation of 3 water mains and the installation of a water transmission main. That project also included replacement of storm sewer and sanitary sewer. That was a very detailed project and involved a lot of heavy civil work and a lot of underground infrastructure work. That project is completed, and we are now looking at doing a project from Vine to Michigan Avenue. That's the project that's in front of you. That's the construction engineering aspect of it. This project will only include the pavement resurfacing, so that's mill and pavement resurfacing. If you recall, Westnedge was transferred to the city of Kalamazoo by MDOT. That was process completed in 2018, known as a jurisdictional transfer. When that jurisdictional transfer occurred, dollars came forward with the streets. So I don't have the exact figure, something like $12.5 million or $13 million came forward with the streets that were transferred over in an agreement that the city entered into. In that agreement, there are requirements that those maintenance activities shall be carried out on those streets. So when we transferred Westnedge over, we agreed to perform paving on it. So this is scheduled work. We're scheduled to pave Westnedge. Paving work, we're talking about just mill and overlay. This is work we do all throughout the city of Kalamazoo. Many of your neighborhoods, many of your local streets have experienced this. We come through with a mill and we mill off the top layer, and then we come through and pave it again. There's not any anticipated closure of the work. It'll be done under traffic, so there'll be lane shifts that occur when the work is occurring. And there's other construction that will happen in downtown. You know, we'll be talking to the city commission in our next committee of the whole session in March about some of that. So there are other projects downtown. I don't want to get off topic here tonight. We're talking about Westnedge from Vine to Michigan Avenue, and we respect that. But there, I do want to make it clear that there will be construction downtown, and there's going to continue to be construction downtown as we work on many infrastructure projects and many grants that the city received, including the Protect Grant and all of the Streets for All projects that we have yet in front of us to embark on, and include those jurisdictional transfer street maintenance commitments that we have made with MDOT previously.
Yeah, thanks, Director Baker. Do you have any sense in terms of timetable? I know with the massive Westnedge project that was done last season, it was from about March till Thanksgiving time frame. Mentioned this is just the milling and repaving. What would be the typical time window that there would be construction being done on this portion?
Great question. I don't have the schedule in front of me right now, so I don't want to speak to that and get anything wrong. But I want to reassure the community that it's just not the same amount of work. When we talk about the project that happened last year, we had to dig and install new 12 and 16-inch water main 8 to 10 feet deep in the middle of the roadway and connect back to all the cross streets all the way up. And dig and install new storm sewer and dig and install new sanitary sewer. So these projects, although the name is the same, Westnedge, they're completely different projects in scope, in impact, and in magnitude, and they are no way of comparison to each other.
Yeah, thanks, Director Baker. I think that's perfect explanation. I think that was what they were hoping to get from you, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Baker. Any other? Yes, Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. Hello, Director Baker. How are you?
Good evening.
When was the last time this road was resurfaced?
I can't recall the exact date that it was resurfaced, but it requires resurfacing based on the Pacer condition of it. I don't have an exact date for you that I could recall.
How bad is that street? If I'm thinking, I think I drive kind of in that area. So tell me about the condition of that street right now.
I don't know if that's a fair question to say. I'll acknowledge that there are other streets in Kalamazoo that are in worse shape. I think that's true. The challenge with maintenance paving is that we're trying to repave the top surface of it before it goes to complete failure. So we do have some streets in Kalamazoo certainly that are in worse condition, but that paving was a condition of transfer. So when we received the street from MDOT, it was required that we pave it. And that's kind of where we're following suit with that requirement. And I will acknowledge there are streets in Kalamazoo that are in worse condition than MDOT. I don't know the exact Pacer condition off the top of my head. We could probably get that and provide that, but we will say that I will acknowledge that there are streets in worse condition.
If we resurface this, how much more of the street that we received or took over from MDOT would still need to be done?
We still have, I believe this ends that commitment. So if you recall, back in 2017, Westnedge and Park were both completed north of Kalamazoo Avenue. And so that was all done. We still have, I think, some outstanding work to do on Park in the future, but this section of Westnedge will complete the Westnedge scope. I'm going to pause there because, as I alluded to, there are other projects happening. So there will be a project happening this summer on Westnedge from Michigan Avenue to Kalamazoo Avenue with the Protect Grant and with some water main upsizing and transmission work that we plan to do. So there's another, Westnedge is a big street. It goes from city limits north to city limits south. So I've got to be careful to, not portray that there's no other work happening on Westnedge when there will be work on Westnedge this year. And, we plan to talk about that with respect to all the other street projects downtown at the March Committee of the Whole meeting.
So again, with what else we are doing within the street, we received how much funding to update these roads?
So the jurisdictional transfer dollars with all the streets that came over, we received about between $12.5 and $13 million. And that was all the streets that came over, Kalamazoo Ave, Michigan Ave, Michigan, Park, Westnedge, East Michigan, and Riverview.
And how are we with the streets that came over? Where are some of those ones that we haven't touched, or have we touched them all on this timeline?
We're pretty much on track with everything. If you remember last year, we did complete Riverview. I had to schedule that, so that was done. The work that we did last year on Westnedge, on that southern half, counted towards that transfer work. The work that we've got programmed in the future with Kalamazoo and Michigan Ave will count towards that work, and this piece, count towards that work too. As far as I am aware, we're on schedule with that agreement, and so we're on track with everything currently.
And just another question too, with one of the gentlemen that was kind of talking about the federal dollars and whatnot. Being stopped, taken away, and things like that. Have we already received those funds? Are those funds in the bank so we can make sure that this project is done?
The jurisdictional transfer dollars are with the city. There's some other funding that comes from Federal Highway through our local agency program. Those are projects that we administer through CATS, through our TIP, Transportation Improvement Plan, and those dollars are at the state level already. We don't anticipate any changes with the transportation dollars, but if something were to occur, we would react accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Decker. Commissioner Cooney.
Director Baker, just quick, did the money that we received from the state, has that covered with the work that we're doing? Or did they give us enough money to cover the work that we have to do in the streets?
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Cooney. The dollars that we have from J-Transfer, jurisdictional transfer, and dollars from CATS, from Transportation Improvement Plan, together cover the cost of the project.
Thank you.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you, Director Baker. So one of the most valuable lessons I think we learned, not as just the commission and city staff, but in community as well, was around coordination and community. So is there a plan that is being created to meet with businesses that may be affected moving forward for this year's season? We're already at the end of February, so I anticipate things are going to start happening very quickly as the weather becomes warmer. What's the plan to really engage with community and with business that could potentially be affected?
Yes, that's a great question. Thank you very much for lifting that up. Just to kind of start off with a lot of the conversations we've been having with both public services and with community planning and economic development. We've got a big team together. We're working off things that went well for us last year. There wasn't a lot of community discussion on the things that went well. There was a lot of community discussion on the things that didn't go so well, and that's where a lot of the real learning occurred. So we've also added economic development folks to that team that's going to help us engage with those businesses. We're working together to start planning information to go out. We're building maps and interactive tools. Right now, one of the takeaways that we got from last year, it was late in the season last year, but was just development of a QR code on a sticker that we can give to businesses, so that they can give that sticker out to their patrons when they come to visit them, and they can have it at their tables when folks come by and want to know what's up with construction. They can just scan the QR code and get information from that. So we're building all those back end aspects of that information now and getting ready to roll that out. As we talk about this, it's important to understand that construction is going to be with us for the next few years, but we are not looking at a construction season like we had last year, where we had that type of closures for that type of duration. So we are not anticipating that level of construction saturation, but there is a lot of work, and there's a lot of big need to get out to community members, certainly our small business owners that need to know what's happening around them and what the schedule is and all that stuff. So we're working on that, and we're getting ready to move that out. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I think it's very important that we do it differently.
Mm-hmm.
And I know construction is going to be with us for a long time. However, there is a way that we can do it intentionally and not be as burdensome on the businesses specifically that were really, really affected financially by that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman. Any other questions for Director Baker? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Appreciate your efforts. Since there are no more questions from commission, is there anyone here in the chambers who would like to comment on this item? This is specifically item now H3 under the regular agenda. Seeing no one, then commissioners, the recommended action is a motion to approve. Is there a motion? Motion made by Commissioner Cooney.
Support.
Supported by Vice Mayor Hess. Any further discussion, commissioners? Seeing none, Clerk Borleen, please call the roll.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hess.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney.
Yes.
Commissioner Decker. Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Thank you, commissioners. The motion passes. Next on our agenda is regular agenda item H4, formerly consent agenda item G5. Manager Ritzma.
Yeah, G5, now H5. Authorization to release the draft of the 2025-2029 Consolidated Plan, which includes the program year 2025 action plan for a 30-day public comment period to begin on March 3, 2025 and end on April 1, 2025.
Thank you, Manager Ritzma. Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to have this pulled off the consent agenda to see if staff is available to really talk about the ways residents can give their input on how to use funding. One of the examples is around affordable housing, and also to speak to whether HUD will even be available with all of the federal cuts that are happening. Yes, so, yes.
Mayor, Commissioners, Julie Johnston with Community Planning and Economic Development. So tonight we're asking for that 30-day public comment period. This is a requirement of HUD that we put the consolidated plan out for the public to provide us comment. They can do that. We're going to be putting a notice in the Kalamazoo Gazette and MLive. And in that notice, it has my telephone number, which is, let me make sure I have it right here. 269-337-8210. It also will have my email address, which is johnstonj@kalamazoocity.org, or they can reach out to our CPED compliance at kalamazoocity.org. So those are 3 ways that they can reach out. They can also send a letter. And any comments that we get, we include in the consolidated plan. And then as far as HUD, we have been told from our HUD local office that we should just march forward, continue with the plan like we normally would, get it before commission for approval, get it in place with HUD so they can review it and approve it, and just keep working and hope that the funding comes our way.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman. Any other questions? Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Julie. So with HUD, and we know everything that's happening, have you and your team started to discuss and put into place a plan of what would happen if we don't get those dollars to complete some of these things within the plan?
So if the dollars don't come our way, or if budgets are reduced, then we will have to come back to the commission and discuss priorities and make some decisions on where the reduced funding would make the most impact.
Would we have to create another consolidated plan and revise that, or no?
It would depend on how we want to utilize the funds, and if we felt that the reduction was something that was going to be in perpetuity or just a one-time thing, we would have to kind of talk that through and make some decisions. Because when we approve the consolidated plan, it has outcomes listed in it. And HUD has an expectation that we will work towards meeting those outcomes. So if we find that we're not going to get the funding that we expected, then we would have to reduce those outcomes in the plan. So we would come back to the commission, discuss it, and create a substantial amendment to the consolidated plan.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? Yes, Vice Mayor Hess.
Sure. Julie, thank you for that. In addition to the M Live and putting your email address and phone out there, are you planning on other means of social media to make this plan known to the community?
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor Hess, for bringing that up. The plan is already on the website. It is going to be in the March newsletter about the public comment period. We will also be working with the communications department to be doing some social media about providing public comment. We're also going to be presenting in March to the Housing Matters Forum to give them an update on the plan and let people know that the 30-day public comment period is in place.
Thank you. That will totally reach many more people. Thank you.
Good.
Yes, Commissioner Decker.
Thank you, Mayor. Will you have the QR code in the monthly newsletter? And thank you, Vice Mayor Hess, for asking that, because that was going to be one of my questions too. Will you have that QR code that's there?
I can check to make sure that it will be there. The QR code is in the public notice that's going into MLive and Kalamazoo Gazette. I'm not sure about the newsletter.
I think you should definitely go into the newsletter, and I say that because not everybody gets the Kalamazoo Gazette, and not everybody gets the MLive. And I think having something that we know that we send out to every city resident, have it right there in their hand, I think that's going to be the most accessible way for individuals to be able to give their feedback. So please include that in the March newsletter.
I will check with them tomorrow if that's possible. I don't know if they've already completed the work for it or not, but I will check.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions at this time? Thank you so much, Julie. Appreciate it. Now is the opportunity for anybody who's here in the chambers who'd like to comment on this particular action item. Just a reminder, it is now regular agenda item H4, and this is for release of a draft of the consolidated plan for a 30-day public comment period.
Hi. I really appreciate Vice Mayor Hess's question because that was very close to what I was wondering. I appreciate that it will go into the Gazette and MLive, but respectfully, the only people that get newspapers right now are old white people. I haven't touched a newspaper in like 15 years. So what I would like to suggest is, in addition to the ideas that you've already suggested, there is a thriving Reddit about Kalamazoo that would be a wonderful place to post something like that. And especially if this is going to have an impact for low-income housing, I think it's really important to make sure that people who have or would like low-income housing have access to it, because those are the opinions that you really want. So I would consider some kind of campaign downtown, post something with the QR code so that I don't have to have a house to know that this is happening, so that I can tell you what kind of low-income housing would help me. And I would also just like to go with Commissioner Decker. I think if you can't get the QR code into the newsletter that's upcoming, I would probably push it off a month, because I think it's going to be really important for engaging the community, because, like I said, I haven't touched a newspaper in like 15 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to comment on this item? See no one. Commissioners, the recommended action is a motion to authorize the release of the draft of the consolidated plan for a 30-day public comment period. Is there a motion? Commissioner Hoffman?
Support.
Supported by Commissioner Wilson. Any other discussion, Commissioners? Commissioner Decker?
Thank you, Mayor. I do have a question. We have a very large Hispanic population here. Is this in Spanish?
I'm sorry, are you asking, is the plan in Spanish?
Yes, if we're asking our residents to be able to get feedback, is this in Spanish?
No, not currently.
Just a thought about that. I mean, there certainly are programs and people available right here in town that could translate it. You have until March 3rd. That should be more than enough time to get this translated, I would think, if we want to have two versions of this available.
Thank you, Mayor, for that. I definitely think we are missing out on a big population if we do not have this translated in Spanish. And I think going forward, anything that requires public participation and feedback should be in Spanish.
Okay, I will look into it and
Thank
try
you.
to have it done by March 3rd.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Any other discussion, Commissioners? Seeing none, Clerk Borling, please call the roll.
Vice Mayor Hess.
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney.
Yes.
Commissioner Decker.
Yes.
Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel.
I'll abstain from this item.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The motion passes. Next, reports and legislation. City Manager Ritzma, do you have a report?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I have a few things this evening. First, an update on downtown restroom. We have one restroom budgeted and money set aside. We're working with the downtown DDA and DEGA boards as partners for cleaning and maintaining wherever that restroom is located. We are having some difficulty on locating or siting that downtown, but we will continue to work with our partners on doing that. But we do have a plan for a restroom downtown for this year yet. Secondly, I'm happy to announce that the RX Kids program is launched, and enrollment is now open. And anyone that is interested in the program, the website is rxkids.org/communities/Kalamazoo. And there's a button there to apply now, and That'll get the process going. Also, for Imagine Kalamazoo 2035, we're entering into the planet phase, PLANIT, not planet as in planet Earth. But we will be having 4 community meetings this coming March, and I'm going to direct folks to Imagine Kalamazoo website and Facebook page, as those are at various locations, but they are being held in March 4, March 11, March 25, and March 27 at various locations. And each location will be covering the same material. So folks, if you can't make it to one, if you go to a different session, it'll be the same material. I've also would like to have our CFO, Steve Asensi, come forward. I know a lot of discussion and questions about federal funding and impact to the city. I think it's important to note how and where we receive federal funds, and Steve can shine a little light on that for us. We also have a group that's meeting, internal group meeting, that is monitoring executive orders that are going out, and in preparing, a response for whatever comes our way. But I'll have Steve talk about how the federal funding is impacted, and as Director Baker mentioned a little bit ago, a large amount of funding we receive is for street construction grants, and we'll be covering that at the next Committee of the Whole, March 3rd. So, Steve?
Yep. Good evening. I'll just talk briefly about our federal funding. Right now, the city has a little over $120 million in federal and state grants, and a number of those state grants having federal origin or federal pieces to them. And most of that federal funding is related to infrastructure. We have over $100 million of streets grants alone. We also have, DWSRF, Drinking Water Revolving Fund loans. We have Clean Water Revolving Fund. Those have federal pieces to them for either principal forgiveness or grants that are included when we went out for those bonds and those projects. We do also have our CDBG HUD and Home. We anticipate having somewhere around $5 million going into 2025 for those programs that can be used and spent. And then we also, as we go through the year, we apply for other funding. So if you look at the 2025 budget, if you skim through there's not much in the way of grants at the moment. A lot of that is carry forward of grants that were approved in prior years, which will be coming with our first quarter budget amendments. And then the remainder, we add it to our budget as we approve those grants. So we get police training grants, we get police equipment grants, forestry grants, anything like that comes forward. We bring that forward. It's a budget amendment, so it's not money we were counting on until the agreement is ready to go. And so for that, we don't have a lot of direct exposure outside of those infrastructure grants, and we are being extremely careful as we move forward through this year to ensure that we have proper fund balance to cover any projects that may get suspended, or if they do get pulled partway through, we have funding available to finish those projects. When we talk about $100 million, that's a lot, but we're not doing $100 million all at once. So working with Director Baker and his team to make sure that anything we start, we're going to be able to finish. So kind of open up there if there's any further questions or concerns.
That's helpful, Steve. Thank you. Questions, commissioners? Commissioner Prater?
I think there's a couple questions I have, but I think it can wait till maybe the roads project update.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much, Steve. Appreciate it. Anything else, Manager Ritzman?
That concludes my report.
All right. Thank you so much. Now we are down to the time on the agenda for commissioner comments, for any commissioner here to take advantage of an opportunity to speak on any topic that they choose. Just as a reminder, is that we always have on our standard agenda an opportunity for a closed session if necessary. And it just so happens we do have a closed session on our agenda for this evening. So after commissioner comments, we will be going into closed session. I believe that we will not be coming back for action. Is that accurate, Attorney Leal?
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right. Sometimes when we go into closed session, we cannot take specific actions in closed session if we're responding to something that was discussed, which is defined by statute, what we can go into closed session for. If we're going to act on it, we have to come back out into open session for that action, but we will not be doing that this evening. So in essence, I guess we'll be adjourning our meeting here and then leaving for our closed session. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So we do have a closed session, but now is the opportunity for commissioner comments prior to that. Anyone who wants to? Yes, Commissioner Cooney.
Mayor, I have several comments. First of all, I want to thank the large number of people that came down here tonight. And it is wonderful to see so many people that are deeply concerned about the homeless. That is wonderful. I want to thank the people for reminding us about our sister who froze to death. She is a symbol of what so many people out here are experiencing. I want to thank the homeless people and the people that are having trouble with mental illness, the vulnerable people that came to that microphone and exposed themselves and showed us living examples of what people are experiencing. I want to thank you for reminding us we're trying hard, but we have to keep trying harder, and that's really important. I want to say that I do not accept the idea that things will get worse. Things will get worse if we let them get worse. The most important document we have in this country is the Constitution. And the Constitution starts out with, we the people. People who have power have no power if we refuse to obey. So I want to say here, I do not accept the cuts that are being proposed against our vulnerable people. I do not accept the idea that we can wholesale just export people from this country, that there is a compassionate and a humane way to deal with immigration. I do not accept the attacks on our trans brothers and sisters. And I think that what has to happen is that we have to speak out, and we have to encourage other people to speak out. And I believe that it is the people who will determine what happens in the future. Bishop Tutu said in South Africa, while the struggle against apartheid was going on, once the people decide to be free, there is nothing you can do about it. So the choice is ours.
Thank you, Commissioner Cooney. Anyone else want to follow that up? Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you so much. A few things. I'm hoping and wishing that the city, that we collectively as a city body will stand publicly and create a statement of solidarity with those individuals that Dr. Cooney so eloquently spoke about. What we are experiencing, this has been in the works for decades. So for us to be surprised that we're here now, it's mute, right? When I think about our housing and our unhoused and our homeless crisis that we're under, we do have a responsibility as a city to do something about it. I was so proud of us that we were able to get money into the 2025 budget to address these things. That was only one step. I want to say publicly that this is very hard work because it's hard work. We don't sit up here to get a paycheck. We definitely don't get $1,000 a month. I just want to put that out there. The other thing is we have buildings within the city that we own. And there is a way that we can become bolder, more creative, and more collaborative with other agencies and organizations and people doing this work, some doing it for free. So to continue to move at the pace that we've been moving is wrong. So I'm saying publicly today, let's take a look at it. What do we own that is sitting there or that is storage for some things, and get something together? We should never have lost a life because people are being turned away because it's a crisis. There's not enough space. You can't work with every hotel. We have a responsibility to do something bolder, bigger, and more inclusive for everybody. It pains me when I see people, and you can tell it's so cold that it's hard for them to walk. It's hard for some people to talk. And that is a travesty. Housing is a human right. It is not a need or want. And this is America. And shame on us, because Kalamazoo is not unique. We're not unique. However, we are. We have the resources to do something bold, creative, with human beings at the center of that work. So again, as somebody said, we have to do better, and we cannot rely or wait on the federal government to do it. We cannot wait on the county to do it, and we can't wait on any other city or township to do it. What can we do today in the city? What can we do to get that ball rolling? The city of Kalamazoo has always been a leader in this county. Organizations and municipalities don't really move until they see the city move. So let's go. It's time to do something bold and stop being passive about what we're being faced with. You have people out here in our community who say, well, ship people back. And then what good is that going to do? People are here now, and it is not about where they come from. It's about we have fellow brothers and sisters, and they are human beings. We can do better, and we must do better. We need to do something now. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman. Other comments, commissioners? All set? Just a slight change of pace here. For our downtown community, and one thing I'm definitely going to miss is every Sunday morning I would come to downtown Kalamazoo and get an update on what was going on and what people were thinking, in no uncertain terms, generally speaking. And at the same time, I could pick up a paper and spend a little time seeing a few other people who came and went, and that was at Michigan News. And where a community icon, Dean Hawk, worked 7 days a week. I believe she was 86, I think, Commissioner Cooney? Yeah. Rain or shine, blizzard or not, always opened. And was a person who kind of was a little sheriff for her part of town, but also helped take care of people and made sure people got help in her part of town. Owned that space down there. And I went down this last Sunday morning, and she'd passed away. The store was closed for the first time that I can ever remember, and she had passed away on Saturday, the day before. So I just want to say to her memory, all the people that depended on her, her family, she meant a lot for Kalamazoo, and we will miss her. Seeing no other comments, I guess we can adjourn first, then go into closed session. I know we have to have a motion to go in closed session, so that's the next piece of work we'll need. May I have a motion to go into closed session to discuss an attorney-client privileged communication? Motion made by Commissioner Cooney. Supported by Commissioner Decker. Do we need a roll call on that, Clerk Borling? Okay.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Commissioner Cooney.
Yes.
Commissioner Decker. Commissioner Hoffman.
Yes.
Commissioner Pradel.
Yes.
Commissioner Wilson.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hess.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioners. The motion passes. And I love you, Kalamazoo. We are adjourned.